Welcome back everyone, I'm Plays Games and this is EVE Online. Now several of you in several different videos have been commenting on my Notepad layout and have asked me to provide some information about how you use the Notepad. So that is what we're going to be doing today. Notepad is a utility and as such it can be found by going to the Neocom main menu up here, scrolling down to utilities and clicking Notepad. And this is what it looks like. You can make several different folders to help you find your different notes. To do that, you just click New Folder. Your folders are always arranged alphabetically as we see, but if, for example, I wanted the NPC damage one to be at the top because it's the one I use more often, I can just right click it. Change label means rename. I don't know why it's called change label, but it is. And you'd have to write an entire new one, so if I put 1 NPC damage, because I've now put a number in the front, it jumps to the top, so that's an easy way of organising your stuff. Just put numbers at the front. NPC damage is a good place to start. These are notes I have made for each and every faction which I fight all the time. You will notice I do not have Triglavians or very many abyssal enemies in here because I don't usually do that kind of activity. All I did was right click on the NPC in the overview or in space and selected show info, and this is the page you get. Then you can just drag this into a note. Very, very simple. Now I have gone to the trouble of organising them into frigates, destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and then I went to even more trouble and I have arranged them all in order of bounty from smallest to largest. Was it worth doing that? I don't know, I can't answer that, but it does give me a library which I can check at any time the resistances and damage output of the enemies. So the Core Admiral does 60% thermal damage and 40% kinetic. It does not tell you the amount of damage they do, just the ratio, and likewise it only tells you their resistances, not how much armour or structure they have or whether or not they repair themselves, which weapons they use, what E-War they have, none of that, but it is at least some decent information. Mercenaries are interesting, their stats are kind of all over the place. As we see, this one does EM and kinetic and explosive, and he's weakest to, hard to say. Looks like explosive because he has zero resists on his armour for explosive and only 50% on shield, so looks like this guy is definitely weakest to explosive. So that's a good way of using the Notepad, just dragging things in like that. One other thing the Notepad is good for is making routes. As we know, when you lay in a route, you cannot save it. You could save all the locations in a folder in the locations bar, but that just becomes an absolute disaster. It's much quicker and easier to have it here. So what you can do, you just right click, add waypoint, right click, add waypoint. Just drag all the systems you want to visit in order and then you can just make a route like that very quickly. We have been asking CCP to give us saved routes for ages, but they haven't quite done that yet. There is of course the optimize route option, so if we bang in a couple of these, then you go up to optimize route. This will shuffle them in order from closest to furthest away. But the problem with that is maybe we didn't want to go to Nakugard. Maybe we want to go to Yulai as the final destination. There is currently no way in the game of saying start where I am or start, say, in Pator, end up in Eram, but go via Tron and Pator and Yulai, and then keep the two endpoints static and then make everything else optimized. There is no way of doing that in game. The only way we can do that is by doing it manually in the Notepad. One other thing that's really good to do is to make yourself a backup of your overview. Because if your game crashes or if your launcher goes a bit strange and loses your launcher profile, then you may find that your overview has disappeared and it becomes an absolute disaster trying to find it again. You can, if you're lucky, in overview settings, find it in history. it's supposed to save the last 15 overviews you've loaded, but sometimes this can go wrong as well, and you're left without your favourite overview. All you have to do is to go up here to the top right, drag the share button, and drag it into a note. And that means you've always got a backup of your overview in a note. Very, very handy. You can do a similar thing with all the chat channels you use, because sometimes, again, if your game crashes or something else goes wrong, you can lose all the player channels you've found. So again, all you can do is just drag them all into a note, just like that, nice and easy, so you've got a backup of all your chat channels. I have lost all my chat channels once before. It was an absolute disaster trying to find them again. You have to ask around and say, hey, does anyone have this chat or that chat? And if it's not a very well-known chat, then you probably won't find it. Then one of the options you have is to actually go into your system, like your PC system. If you go to PC User, Documents, Eve, Logs, Chat Logs, this will list every chat you have been in, and it is a disaster to try and scroll through that and find all the missing chats. But it is one way of getting your chats back. This is one of the notes I use all the time. This is what I have on my hotlinks, and you will notice they are not big, long, horrible URLs. They're nice, concise things that tell me exactly what the link leads to. To do this, you simply type in whenever you want your hyperlink to say, highlight it, and then click this URL button up here, and then paste in the URL and click OK, and then it will save it as a link. You are limited to only 3900 characters in a note, and you will notice that this does not look like 3900 characters, and indeed it's not, because adding a URL or coloration actually counts as additional characters, so it's very easy to run out of space in a note. But as far as I can tell, there is no limit on how many notes you can have. I'm sure there is a limit, but I haven't found it in over 15 years of constantly writing notes. I mean, I do have 75 notes in total, so I'm sure there is a limit, but I haven't found it. And that also comes in very handy if you run out of room in your fittings window. Because as we know, in fitting, if you go to Hulls and Fits and mouse over, you can only have 500 personal fittings and 600 corporation fittings. That sounds like a lot, but it's really, really not. So again, what you can do, you can just make a new note, call it fits, and then when you run out of room in your fitting window, what you can do, you can just drag all your excess fits here and then delete them from the fitting window. So then you have all these fits saved here as a backup, and because you can have infinite notes, then it's all good. Which kind of makes a mockery of the fitting limitations. If we can save infinite fits and infinite notes, why the hell are we limited to 500 personal and 600 corporation? Now, the same thing does not work for skill plans. Because unfortunately, how many skill plans can we have? Doesn't say. We can only have so many skill plans. And the problem with this is you can save skill plans to a note. I'll just drag one in here just to show you. You just drag them in. There we go. There's a skill plan. Unfortunately, skill plans, they do not have their own colour. It would be good if they did, but they don't. Like fuchsia or something would be, pink could be a good colour or something. But the problem is, if you then delete the skill plan from the skill plan planner, it breaks the link because the link isn't pointing at anything anymore. Unlike the fits, you can delete the fit from your fitting screen and then the link in the notepad will still work because they're self-contained fitting links. So that is slightly annoying. Again, I'm not quite sure why we're limited to only having so many skill plans. They could just make them be saved locally on your PC so it doesn't affect their servers, but there we are. That's something else I don't know about. These strange limitations. I also like to keep track of all the loot I have found in my notes, just to build up a library of what I find in my exploration, and it helps you keep track of the value of certain items over time. I have not timestamped these, I probably should have, but this is going back years. As you can see, I'm onto the 6th page of just 3 out of 10 DED results with many different sites run on them. This isn't even all the loot from all the sites, this is just what I think is worth noting down. As we see, this Corelli A-type multi-spectrum coating most recently sold for 164. Before that it was 167, and back in the day, before it was multi-spectrum coating, it was called adaptive nanoplating, and it used to be only worth 95 million. So it shows you that over time the value of that has gone way up. And here's the big ones from the 5 out of 10s, 579 million. It is quite good fun to keep all this stuff in a note. One other thing that we do not have the ability to do is to share notes. Like, we cannot drag a note. You do get the icon, but it doesn't actually link anything, which is rather annoying. One way around that is you make a new chat channel. So just put share notes, create a new chat channel, and then you go here to the top right, more, and channel settings, and then you have 4,000 characters here. So then what you can do, you can just drag in all the info from a note and copy paste all the things you think you want to have, click OK, and then you can share this chat channel with all your alts. So you will have one chat channel for each of your notes. I know it's kind of a janky way of doing it, but it's the only way we have at the moment, because as we see, each note has a 3900 character limit and each chat message of the day has a 4000 character limit, so they kind of match up. So you will need one new chat channel for every single note, but it is a way to share all of your notes with all of your characters, because then you can just go up here and email your character. Because unlike any other chat, you can just simply drag it into an email and email it to all your characters, so then all your characters will have access to the chat. Very, very easy. Maybe one day we'll get the ability to actually share notes and the universe will probably explode, because that would be a really nice thing to have. So that is pretty much it for the Notepad guide. There's plenty of interesting things you can do. You can save excess fittings, you can save hyperlinks, you can save your overview backup, you can save NPC information, you can save loot that you've got, you can do all kinds of stuff. You can share them via chat channels, you can make routes by dragging waypoints into the correct order, you can make different folders to keep them all nice and easy to find, rather than having to scroll down this huge alphabetical list of all your notes. So yeah, the Notepad is really useful and everyone should make use of it. So I hope you found this informative, and I hope to see you again for the next video. Until then, do look after yourself, and I'll speak to you again very soon.